So fine. So we'll start off with Python Pandas data frames. Okay.
Okay.
So prior to this, we discussed about Panda series. So Panda series is what? Series is a library for the data analysis, but it works on the 1D, okay, one-dimensional array. Okay. So now when it comes to the data frame, again, it's a library for the data analytics, which is built over NumPy, okay, thing. Now, when I talk about a data frame, so frame is like a rectangle frame. So that means here, so you'll be working with the data which is in the form of frame, that is rows and columns. You'll be working on the rows and columns. Okay. So that is the main objective of this. So I can say it's like a multi-dimensional array. So it can be 2-dimensional, it can be even 3 dimensions. So the definitions is something like this. So fine. So a data frame is a 2-dimensional labeled data structures. Okay, that means it says data frame is a 2-dimensional. So that means you can have both rows and columns with the labels. We can see we can have the labels for the rows as well as we can have the labels for the columns. Data structures with columns of potentially of different types. So that means each column can have a different data types. So if you look into yesterday when I was talking about NumPy, yeah, it can store values. So that means it can have that particular multiple values of any homogeneous type. Okay, so it supports multiple data types like string values, integers, floats, and all this thing. But okay, a particular series will have a values of one type, homogeneous type. But here, each field can have a different type. So like I want to store the information about the employees. So employee name will be having a character type. When you talk about the salary will be of a double type. Age will be of an integer type. Yeah, so I can have so multiple fields. So each fields will be of a different data types. Yep.
Yeah.
You can think of it like a spreadsheet or an SQL table or a dictionary of series of objects. So dictionary is what? So we have a key value pairs, Okay, so it can be like we can think of like a spreadsheet in Excel or like a table in SQL Server databases, or it can be a collection of series of dictionaries. Where in the case of dictionary, the information is stored in the form of a key and the value as a pairs. Okay, chalo. It is generally the most commonly used Pandas objects. Okay, so like series data frame accept many different kinds of inputs. Fine. Data frame is the main object in Pandas. Okay, we saw about the series, but more than the series, the data frame is very important because a series generally works with a single sequence of values. Okay, but you want to do a kind of doing analysis, so we always be having the data in the form of Tableau format. Okay, so that is where data frame will be very useful because this is going to work on the Tableau data. Data frame is the main object in Pandas. It is used to represent data with rows and columns. Fine?
Yeah.
Okay. How do we construct Pandas data frame? So it is something like this. When you're creating this particular data frame, so we refer to a pandas.dataframe. So generally what we are doing, so we say imports pandas as PD. So when I refer pandas with the name as PD, so we can just say pd.dataframe. Okay, it's a case sensitive D is caps, F is cap data frame. So this takes the various parameters. So again, like when you look into the parameters, the same like your series. So we have a mandatory parameter that is your data. So this particular data, so in the previous case, it was either a NumPy array or it was a list. But here it can be a NumPy array, it can be a list, it can be a collection of lists. Okay, it can be a dictionaries, it can be even referring to an external files. It can be a CSV file, it can refer to a database file, or it can be even referring to our Excel file. Okay, and then we can define the indexes. Indexes is what? For the row indexes, no? So each row, like, by default in the case of series, it was given as index 0, 1, 2, 3. So here also by default, if I'm not giving index, so every row will be identified with the index as 0 base, 0, 1, 2, 3. But you can redefine that index with the numbers or even with the character data. And not only the index, we can even define the column name. So each column name also can be defined with a value. Fine?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is the thing. Okay. So the same things. Okay. Index and this one. And data frame will have a data type. So you want to know what is the data type of that, or you want to assign the data type. So we can use this parameter to assign what type of data it is going to contain. Now first we'll see how do we create a data frame and dealing with rows and columns. Okay, so now you can see here I'm trying to read the data from one of my CSV file. I just have one CSV file. So you know generally like CSV file stands for comma separated value file. Now CSV files can be very easily opened in our Excel. Okay, when you try to open in Excel, what happens is automatically that CSV file will be extracted to an Excel format and it will be put into the cells, Excel cells, and it will be displayed as if it is like an Excel file. Okay, but what happens behind the screen when in the storage, when it is storing, it will be stored with a comma separated. So it occupies very less space. So it's very lightweight file.
How do we do a semicolon separated value?
Comma separated values.
Correct.
CSV.
Nowadays there's something called a semicolon separated value.
So where did you come across this?
Many companies they do the semicolon. In fact, that was the reason I wanted to access Visa system. I kind of cracked it, but I don't have a Windows system.
Okay.
Mac there are 3-4 options how you can do that.
Yes.
In Mac you're not able to do that. That is one of the reasons I want to take her access.
Okay, fine.
I'm almost at the worst, but
see what happens, like the comma separated values means, so the data will be separated, each column data will be separated with the comma, but even it can be separated with any special character. So I think if you have done with the Excel, we have this concept of importing the data in Excel. When you're importing the data, so we use the delimiters to split the data. So now in the delimiters, you can specify whether you want to split the data based on the comma or based on the semicolon or based on hyphen or a space or any special characters.
Okay, how do you save it with semicolon?
Something like, I think I'll just show you one example. I'll just use a notepad. Okay, so I just want to store the information about the employee. Employee number, I just say name, I say salary. Fine. I say I say E001, I say name, I say Sadiq, I just say sal, I say 20,000.
नहीं आप semicolon और comma दोनों mix कर रहे हैं.
Okay. So, we can have no issue. So it will support. Okay, so I want to read this particular data in Excel. We'll see how do we read this. So before that, I'll just save this particular file. Let me save it as text file itself. Let's see.
This will open 100%. It will open.
So this is a semicolon. Yeah. So you know how to open this, no?
Yeah.
So we just get into the data, get the external data from the text file. So delimiters we use it. So what is the data?
वही है ना data.
Okay. Yep. So we just say, okay, we use the delimiters and we just say like how you want to delimit it. So based on the semicolon. So in the case of comma, the data will be stored with the commas. We use the commas and we explicitly give it semicolons and things. There is a file format itself is the semicolon separated.
No, the thing is, it seems these days the file by default it will store as comma separated value, right? Whenever you store something,
yes,
right? They want it to be stored as semicolon separated value.
Okay.
By default.
Okay. So, is there any plus on that? Advantages of than over comma separated values?
I was just going through some blogs.
Okay.
So this guy came across this thing, so I was just trying to crack it.
Okay.
Abhi, I just have to ask one friend, why is it actually required?
What is semicolon separated? Okay, fine.
But what I understand is you have to do that through Windows. It is not. If you can do it over here.
Yeah.
I'll send you the links. Whatever I've done.
Okay, fine. No issue. Okay. So they should be from. Yeah. Okay, fine. Let us read this particular data and we'll try to work on this particular data in today's session.
Okay.
Okay, so tomorrow we'll take little higher data and things. So tomorrow we'll try to extract the data from the different files. Okay, Excel and all this, fine. So now, okay, I just have this particular file as a CSV file. So to read this, okay, first thing what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to import. So this is okay. First, you need to include the pandas, just like how we did the installing of NumPy. In the similar way, we need to install the pandas. Okay. So in the project interpreter, or you can with the help of a pip installer, so we can install this particular thing. And then I'm importing the pandas as PD. So that means, okay. So instead of calling the members of pandas, instead of every time telling that pandas dot what is it, data frame, pandas dot read Excel, pandas dot this and thing. So I'm just referring this as a alias name. So alias is another name, is a short name. So now I want to create a data frame. So I'll just say data frame is equal to pandas.read.csv. That means I'm trying to read a CSV file. So which is this particular thing. So I'm just trying to read this particular data and work on this. So this exactly the same data. So I'm trying to read. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So now I've just written this particular code when you look into it. So I say imports pandas as PD. That means I'm importing this pandas. I'm referring with this particular PD. So then I say data frame is equal to pandas.read CSV. This is going to read my comma separated value file and just need to pass. See here, one thing is if this particular file is in the same location where your project directory is there, I can just give the name of the file. Okay. But if this file is present in the another location in the hard disk, in that case, I need to give the full path. Like say c:/user/Sadiq/pycharm/ with the full path with the file name and the extension.
Got it.
Okay. So if it is in a different location, if it is the same location where your program is there, pandas program is there, you can just directly refer. Not issue. Okay. So I have kept it in the same location. So I'm just giving, otherwise I need to pass it. So now, okay, what happens? This particular command is going to read that particular CSV file. So that CSV file will be read and will be stored into this particular data frame. So now I want to print in my, PyCharm. So I'll just print this. Print, I just say data frame. So this is going to print whatever the data was there in that particular weather data.csv, that data is being read over here. Fine. Okay. So in my CSV file, when you look into it, I don't have the 0, 1, 2, 3. This is the index which has been generated. See, in that I just have only this data.
Right.
Okay. So this is the columns and this is the data. And you can see by default, it has given the index. So that means I have not defined the index, but still it has assigned the index. Fine. So you want to have an index, I can just give an index. So you can say index is equal to, I just say range of, so what is the range? It is 11. Okay, that means it is 11 minus 1 12. Okay, fine. So we have read this particular data. So into this particular data frame. Fine.
Yeah.
So next is, now in this particular data frame, how many rows are there? How many columns are there? You want to get those particular data. Okay. So in that case, we use it something like this. So now I just say print shape. Okay. Rows and columns. Okay. So that means I want to know how many rows and columns are there. We use this particular method called as DataFrame.shape. So this will tell me how many rows and how many columns are there in that particular data frame. Okay, so this is going to print the rows and columns, or I can just even say like this, R and C, R comma C, these are two different variables. I say DataFrame.shape. So that means this particular DataFrame.shape gives me, returns me two values, rows and the columns. So that The rows will go into this, the columns will go into this. So if you print this, you can see it says the shape of rows and columns are 12 by 4. Okay, that means it has 12 rows and 4 columns. Fine. So now you want to extract it separately. So I can use it like this. A row variable and the column variable is equal to DataFrame.shape. So the value will be assigned. The first value will go into the row, second value will go into the column. And then we are trying to print out how many rows and columns are there. So it says in my data frame, we have 12 rows and 4 columns.
Right.
Yeah. So that is what is nothing. So that means this is going to say shape rows and columns. This is going to print the rows and columns. So you want to read that particular rows and columns separately, and then you want to print it. So that means this particular thing returns multiple values. Fine. Check.
Yeah.
So that is, we try to find out, okay, how many rows are there and how many columns are there. So 11 rows, sorry, 12 rows and 4 columns respectively. Now, we have seen this kind of a head and tail in a series. Okay, correct. So what a head and tail will do, you want to extract the data from the top or the bottom. So we use this particular head and the tail function respectively. So head will get the data from the top. So we use the head and the end. So we just says how many rows you want to fetch it. If I'm not defining any numbers, so then the default number is 5. So even in the case of tail, it is 5. Fine. So this particular thing, so what it does, yeah. So I just say, yeah. So first few rows and last few rows. So when I use a head and tail, so we can see from that particular data. So this is going to fetch me the first 5 rows and the last 5 rows. Yeah. So this is my data. Print. Yeah, so it is getting me the first 5 rows. You can see with the index also 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But the right. Same thing if I say print, this is going to fetch me the 5 rows from the bottom.
If I don't want the index?
If you don't want the index you want to remove, you can remove it. It is the default one. Okay, so we are trying to get that is assigned by default. You can also set the index. So there is something called as a set index. So with the help of the set index, you can set your own custom index.
Okay, but I don't want the index at all.
You don't want, yeah. So we can set the index. We can redefine the index to the day. So that is the day is the next column. No, we can redefine the index to the day, or you want to set it for event or a time. So in that case, this will be removed. This will be displayed.
Okay.
Okay. Fine. So that was about this. So you can specify the numbers. If I say top 2, this is going to get me the first 2 rows. The bottom also you can just use it. Something like that. So you can see that is 0 and 1, the first 2 rows.
Got it.
Okay. So you can specify the numbers here. So you'll get me that. So now this is the head and tail is you're fetching the rows either from the top or from the bottom. You want to fetch a specific numbers of rows. In that case, I can also use this particular thing here. Print okay data frame or 2, 5. So when I say 2, 5, what happens? It will start from the row index 2, that is 0, 1, 2, that is the 3rd row to the 5th row. That is 3rd, 4th, and 5th. It should print. When you look into this particular thing, it is printing is the 3rd row, that is 0, 1, 2, 3, no? 0, 1, 2. So that is it's starting from the 3rd row, that is, and it is going till the 5th row.
Right.
Yeah, that is printing. Now, okay, this is like, this way, like we can just say like this. So it will start from the starting. So you'll get the first 5 rows.
Slicing basically.
So it's basically a slicing completely. So you can do that. Okay, the similar kind of slicing is what we did. Okay, in the case of list as well as in the case of numpys, a similar kind of thing can be done in this one. So now I want to fetch how many columns are there. So we have this column, say day, event, time, temp, and the wind speed. So I want to know what are the columns are there. So I just use this particular method. I want to print all the columns. So we use the data frames because all this, the whole data, whatever you have read is stored in the data frame. I say dot columns. So this will get me the complete columns. So this says in my data frame, what are the columns are there. So when you look into this one, so this is just telling me, okay, in my data frame, I have this column day, I have the column event, I have a column called as temp, as well as I have the column called as wind speed. Fine.
Yeah.
So now, okay, this is where I will try to find out only what are the columns are there. So now, see, in the previous case, what was happening is we were trying to filter the data horizontally. Okay, so I want to have a first 5 rows, or say I want to have a 3rd to 5th row or something. So that is we were trying to get the data horizontally. Now I want to get the data vertically. So how do we get this particular data vertically? So if you want to get this particular data vertically, so in that case, what is that we do? We just say data frame of, okay, since we knew what is the columns are there in my data frame, so now I'll just use this particular thing. I just say data frame and the name of the column. Since I know here what are the columns are there, day is there, event is there. So this is going to print me this column, say day. It will print only that particular column. So you can see, or I say I want to print, say what is the column we have, say event. So event is whether it's raining or not. I think.
So basically, it is like select
vertical select filter. Yeah, exactly. So select the product ID name from the product table. Okay. This is like, you're getting a single column. So you want to get multiple columns. Yeah. So you can do that also. So you can use this in the 2 square brackets. Okay. So now this can be called like this, or you can also call like this. I can use the square brackets, and yeah, I can use like this also. So, and in that case, I need to put it in the code. I can call with the name, or I can call it as an attribute. Okay. So either you can use a dot and then you can call. I can use like this and then I call. So that means dot event is like in the data frame calling a specific column, or you can call by directly by giving a name of the column. So in the square bracket.
Columns also has index?
No, column, that name itself is an index. It doesn't have a zero based index. So whatever the name you give. Yeah, if I'm not giving any name, so it will have the index 0, 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
List of list, if you go. Yes. Okay. So we are referring to this particular thing. So now this and this both returns the same. That is what I need to say. Okay. So this is like, you're calling with the, in the square bracket, you're calling explicitly with the name, or you can referring with that. This one. Yep.
Yeah.
Now you want to get multiple columns. Okay. If you want to get multiple columns, so in that case, so we can write the code something like this. Print data frame. So I can see I'm defining a list of list. Okay. So in the data frame, I need to define the list, and that list is this. So I want to get the day, event, and the wind speed. Okay. And even the column names are case sensitive. You need to follow exactly the same kind of a names that will been defined for the columns. Like what kind of case is there? Even the same case you need to maintain. Wind speed W is caps. So this is going to get me this 3 different columns. Yeah, basically like, you select column names from the table name. So exactly that.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what is this particular thing. So that is, okay, how we can, this one. So now, okay, so apart from that, it also supports the various statistical functions, like, so what you talk about. We want to get the highest value. I say data frame. Okay. See, now you want to say, since it contains rows and columns, I need to know what is the highest value in which particular field you want to get it. Okay. See, now my data is like this, the row and column. So now when I say highest, it will not know what highest. When it was series, it was a single field. Okay. Single row. Okay. In that particular thing, it could find what is the highest value in the rows. But it is a combination of this one. So I need to say data frame of temp dot max. So that means we are telling in this particular column, get me the highest value from this column. Yep.
Got it.
Yeah. So that is the min on the stick column, summing, mean, median, all these things can be used. So that means here I can explicitly say mean of what you want to find. You want to know what is the average wind speed, or you want to find what is the average temperature, so we can find it.
Got it, sir.
So when you are applying a statistical function, you go to a specific column and then you apply that particular statistical function. Apart from that, we do also have a describe. So generally what a describe will do, describe will give you the complete detailed information, statistical information about the series. In the data series, we saw the describe. So the same way in the data frame also, we can use a describe. So see, when I use a describe, see in the case of series, we saw that describe can be used either on the numeric field or even on the character string fields, fine. But here what happens is we are using the describe. So when I say describe, so it will have a columns of a, each column can be of a different data type. Now when I say I need to get some kind of a statistical information, so this can be done only on the numerical data. So when I use this particular describe, so it will do this particular describing on all the numerical fields. So what are the numerical fields are there in this? We have a temp and we have a wind speed. These are the numerical fields. So it will describe on the numerical fields. Okay, the details of the same describe, like it gives me the count, it gives me the highest, the lowest value, and the standard deviation, and what is the minimum, average, and all these things at each percentile. So the same describe, but you can see this is applying only on the numeric fields. Yeah. In the case series, we saw it can be even done explicitly on the column space, even on the character data also. There the describe was working differently. So it was telling like how many count was there, how many distinct value was there. So that particular count value maximum number, which count was having the highest max. Yep. Repeated.
Right.
Yeah, something like that we saw in the case of series, but here we cannot do it on the character data. So when I say describe, it automatically does it only in the numerical data.
Numeric.
Yep.
Data.
So now in the series, we could even see that something concept called as a subsetting. Yeah. Yesterday we're seeing about some subsetting. Subsetting is what? From that particular range of data, you're trying to get a filter. Okay, you're trying to get only some subset of the data, small set of the data based on the criteria. So we saw I wanted to see all those particular marks in the series, which is more than 50 or more than the average or something like that. A similar kind of things. So here also we are trying to do the subsetting feature. So we'll just see that. Okay. Okay, so now when you look into this one, so we are telling data frame. Okay, in the list I'm telling that data frame dot temp greater than 30. So now what it will do is from your actual data frame, so it will take only those rows where the temperature was above 30. So that means I want to show that complete rows where the temperature was above 30. That means this date the temperature was above 30. This date the above temperature was above 30. Then where? Okay, here we have some temperatures which is above 30. I want to show only this particular rows. Okay, on which of the days the temperature was above more than 30. Fine. So for that, this particular command will execute. So again, when you see here, it is showing it. Okay, it is applying the filters on this. Okay, but it is showing this particular thing. So that means it is like applying the where clause. So now it was something like this particular thing over here. What I'm doing here is, so I'm trying to filter the data. So based on this particular thing, so I say where I want to get the data from the data frame. So where the data frame dot temperature is greater than 30. So that means it is going to fetch me only those particular days when the temperature was more than 30. Or you can even say like, where the data frame dot temp is greater than or equal to, I say data frame dot temp. Yeah. So when I use this particular thing, what happens from the data frame, it is trying to find the average temperature. Okay, whatever the average of that, and it is trying to show me only those days when the the temperature was more than the average.
Right.
Okay, so we can use those particular thing. Either you can use with the static values, or we can refer to this particular using a statistical function. Also, you can do. Okay, fine. So that is there. This is like, we are trying to print okay, the record which is having the highest temperature. So something like, we use an aggregate functions
Right.
in the database. So it was trying to find out okay, the record which is having the highest value or lowest value. Yeah. So now it says here 2 days the temperature was the highest with the same highest value. So both having matching the same, so it shows both the records. Fine. So when I use the map, so I can use a min, we can use this sort of thing. It just says here I can also print the same thing with the help of this. So here I said I can use this particular directly using a dot operator, or I can call it like this. Both works the same. Okay, this or this. Either you can use it in this style or you can use it in this style. Both works the same. Okay. So now what is happening is it is printing all the columns. Okay, so highest temperature, it is telling which day it was, what was the event on that day, what was the highest, what is the temperature, how is the wind speed, all the information has been shown. So now I want to show a specific column. I want to see only the highest temperature. Okay, so in that case, print only a day column. So when you look into this, so I just want to know which of the days the highest temperature was. So now this particular thing, so you can see when I'm printing this, I say data frame of day. So that means I want to print only the day. Okay. So when I run this particular thing, so what happens? This will print only the, that means the complete day column will be printed. This will print the complete day column. But I say, no, I want to print only those dates when the temperature was the highest.
Right.
Okay. So in that case, I'm just writing this particular query. So I just further, I say this is for the vertical filter, and this is like a horizontal filter.
Right.
Okay. So where I say dataframe.temperature is equal to dataframe.temperature.max. So this will try to find what is the highest temperature, and I want to get only those particular days when the temperature was matching to the highest.
Right.
So it says on these 2 days, so that is 2/1 and 8/1, okay, 2020, the temperature was the highest. Fine.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Print only the day and the time column. So I say print, okay, here I'm trying to get these two columns. The same, like, I said vertical filter and horizontal filter. So this was getting the single column. So if it is a single column, we put in the single square bracket. If it is multiple columns, we use a multiple square brackets. Okay, so in that case, so in the previous case, it was showing only the day. Now I want to know the day as well as the temperature, but I don't want to show the other columns like event, wind speed, and all this thing. Oh, fine. This is the 2 days when the temperature was that. Fine. Clear? So what we have understood over here is a data frame is generally dealing with the row and columns. So the functionality is also whatever we saw that was we could filter horizontally, we could filter vertically, okay, and the data could be read based on the column names or based on the row index. Fine.
Right.
Yeah, and also we could do a subsetting also over here. Almost the functions whatever we saw with the series was here also. We had the concept of head and tail, slicing, the subsetting, using those particular statistical functions and all these things where they're described and all these things. Fine, but again the describe and all these things, it works on only the numerical columns by default. Okay, next is I have this particular data frame. So what you say, we have multiple columns. Now what I want to do is, okay, now coming to your question. So, okay, so can we remove this particular column index? So that was your question. So this is my data frame. So this is just printing my data frame window. The same data frame. I'm just reading the data and just trying to print it. Okay, so same data I'm trying to read. Okay, and then say print data frame. So this is just printing my data frame. So when I print the data frame, so by default you can see the row index has been set 0, 1, 2, 3. A column name, since the data was having the columns, It has picked up both that particular column names. Fine.
Right.
Okay, we can customize that. Now, I say I want to go for the indexing. So what is indexing? So indexing is like, a concept of identifying the columns. Fine. So objective of using the indexing is you want to search based on that particular index. See now, whatever generally on this, you want to search the data other than using the subsetting concept. So you want to go with the highest, what you say, event or temp and all this thing. I want to search, okay, a particular row. Okay, I say fifth row I want to search, or a particular row with a particular number or something. So in that case, indexing will be more useful. That means we generally search the data based on the indexed column. Okay, so more or like index is like your primary key column. Yep.
Right.
Okay, since there was no index defined in the previous this one, so it has assigned an additional index column. So now what I will do is I want to set the index. Okay, so I'll just say, okay, DataFrame.index. Yeah, fine. So what I've done is, this is my data frame, printing the data frame, and then I have said define the index for this. To define the index, I just use this particular thing. I say DataFrame.index. So this is going to assign the index. Okay. Now, after you assign the index, I want to search for the data. Okay. So now you can see, okay, since the index is defined, okay, and based on the first this one, I just say, if I want to search the data when there is an index defined, I just use like this. I say DataFrame.location. Based on what location?
If it's defined, then it will start from 0 again.
Yes, 0 again.
Okay.
Okay. I can redefine that to the different column. So by default, here I have not told which column to be assigned.
Okay.
Okay. So now this is a default index.
It is automatically defined. No. So why are you defining it again? Define.index.
Yeah. So we are just telling that, the first column is going to refer this as the index 0, 1, 2, 3. So if you want to set the index explicitly, we set it like this: DataFrame.setIndex. And then we specify the column on which you want to define the index. So now I'm trying to say, no, I want to define the index with this.
Okay.
Yeah. So like, previous data is like this. Okay. Where you can see this has given as additional.
Right.
Okay. After you say DataFrame.setIndex a day. So what happens now? We have told I don't want this particular default index. I want to define an index for the one of the existing column. Since I said day, so I'm just referring this one. Day is my index column. So you can see. So day is my indexed column. So this is my dates. This is event, temperature, wind speed is also.
But it goes in a different tab, no?
Yeah, it's again the same frame. So it just creates one additional this one. Okay, but again it's the same stable structure. So we identify this as event, this is temperature, this one, everything.
Right.
Okay, so now it is index based on this. See, when I am defining the index on this one, I want to search based on the index number. We use a location, and they say loc is equal to 2. So that means it was looking for this index 2. Okay, so this particular command. Okay, when I use this particular location to locate for the index based on 2, so that means it is going to fetch this row.
Okay.
Okay, so now I have defined the day as the index. So since I have defined the day as the index, now you want to fetch based on the day. So what I do is I search like this. I said DataFrame.location, and I look for one of the day. Like say I want to look for this day. 05/01/2020. If it is the employee number or serial number, you can have that. So we can refer to that particular name or the number or something. So when I go for this particular thing, okay, so now you can see this will give me the details of this particular row. So on this day, 05/01/2020, so the weather was sunny. It was 28-degree temperature. 5 was the wind speed. Sunny plus.
Right.
Okay, so you can search it like I say 6. It is going to show me the 6th day of Jan. So how was the temperature? Something. It was snow with 27 and 7 or something. So we search it something like this. Okay, so now you want to search for based on the indexed column. So we use the location loc. Okay, DataFrame.location and this one. So now see what happens is here day is a unique values. It is cool, but what if I go on the non-unique values? Say example, when you look into this particular event and temperature, all these values are more repeated. Let us take an example. In the event, we have a rain, it is repeated. Okay, sunny, again there is a sunny repeated. I want to know which all the days it had rained. Okay, so now what we'll do is, now instead of defining the index on the day, I'll try to define the index on the event. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah. I'll just say this DataFrame dot set index. Okay, and I say I want to define the index on event.
Right.
Okay, so now what happens? This will make an event as the index, but it'll for this to be implemented, it'll implement in the next command. Now I say I want this to be done on in place itself, there itself. Okay, on the same data frame. So now what happens is it will assign this particular thing. Okay, and next time when you do, okay, we need to call this particular data frame again.
Nice, sir. I didn't understand what is
Acha, fine. So here I say DataFrame dot set index. Okay, and I say I want to set on the event. So now I just remove this. Okay, in place is equal to true. Okay, so now I try to print this data frame, and you'll see what happens. I'm just trying to print the data frame by making event as the index. Now you can see, even though I have made event as my index, so you can see, but it has not made that as an index column.
right.
Okay, if this has to be made as an index column, so I need to do one thing is, okay, I say in place is equal to true. Means what happens is, we are defining this index and okay, it needs to be implemented on the same data frame. See,
Right.
if I'm not doing this, in that case, what I need to do is I need to create another data frame 2 is equal to data frame. Fine. And then I'll say print data frame 2. Okay, see, I have set this on this particular existing data frame. I have made event as an index column. Fine. And then the data frame I'm trying to assign to another data frame and then printing that particular data frame. So now you can see it will print with the index as event. So event is going to be your index, or you can even look in this on this. I'll just show you. We're able to. Here you will not be able to search based on the event. So we are trying to look based on the rain. Rain is one of the value under the event. Yeah. Hello.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's based on the event. So now what is happening is now event is not defined as an index still.
Okay.
Still it is not defined. So if I try to look in the data frame where I'm trying to search based on this particular value of rain, so this will go and look into the indexed columns. So right now the index column is that 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So that is why it is not able to find out what is this particular rain. So now what I do is, okay, I just say comma in place is equal to true. So when I say in place is equal to true, so that means this particular data frame will get event column as an index and it will be implemented on the same data frame itself.
Right.
Otherwise, in this particular data frame, we need to reassign to the another data frame. Only in that case, it will be passed on. So now, when you run this particular query, you should be good. Yes. So you can see, yeah. So that is where we use the in place is equal to true. Is on the same data frame, the index will be assigned.
Okay.
If I'm not defining this, it will be assigned in the later this one. So that means when you assign this data frame to another data frame, that time, okay, so there was index defined. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So now, okay, now you're looking based on the rain, or I want to know which all the days it has rained, or I want to know which all the days which there was a snowfall thing. So this will show me the days on which, okay, there was a snowfall.
Okay.
Okay, so that is the, okay, so that means here what we can understand is index is not only it can be applied on the unique fields, it can be applied even on the what is here, distinct values, repeated values. Okay, on the country, region, city, these columns also we can use the index. So I think in SQL also we have understood the concept of indexing. So indexing is just a kind of a technique where you're making a data retrieval faster. Okay, the same way here also when you assign the index, so there is a technique which changes behind. So it says when I define an index based on the event, so it will combine all the group index, and then okay, it says use search will try to give that particular group of data when there is a repeated values. Yeah, when there is a unique value, so it arranges the data and then it the searching happens behind the screen. Yeah.
Got it, sir.
Okay, okay, fine. That is fine. Sure. You want to reset the index, we can just use this. DataFrame dot reset index in place is equal to true. This is just going to reset the index. Say I have defined this index in place, everything. Just before showing this, I can just see, I'll just try to do a reset here. So now what happens, we are trying to remove this particular index. So now when you say show snow, it doesn't know what is snow, you'll be getting an error. Okay, right. So reset is like, you want to set back the index. I don't want to use this kind of thing. Yeah. Fine. The same way you can also use a standard deviation and the describe method for a specific column. So standard deviation of a temperature, describe as usual, that's trying to show. So how the temperature is varying. Standard deviation of temperature is 3.4. Okay, there is a difference in this one. So describe is just giving me the complete details, description of that. Fine.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that is something, so the basic ideas of the data frames. Okay. Next, we'll see how do we read this particular data. How do we create a data frame based on the different for a base. So we can create based on the dictionaries. We can use even create based on the list of lists. We can also create based on the even the external sources, the databases, and all these things. So I think that we can take it up in the next session.
Sure, sir.
Okay, so here what we have understood, just to wind up this particular thing. So we have understood a pandas is a library. Okay, under libraries we have two structures. One is your series, another is your data frame. Series works on a single dimension, whereas the data frame works in the two dimension, rows and columns. So since it works based on the rows and columns, so we can find out the structure of that particular thing. So okay, how many rows are there, how many columns are there. Sometimes you want to do an iterations and all these things, so this is going to be useful. So I can even do a catch the data from the top or bottom, or you can do the kind of a slicing. Fine. Things apart, there is a difference between the slicing and the subsetting. Slicing is like, based on a specific position, specific rows or something we are trying to do. Okay, subsetting is based on the criteria you're trying to filter the rows. Yep. And not only that, you can also do the filtering based on the columns. You can get for a single column, you can get it even the multiple columns. Yep. So you can even apply the statistical function. So when you're applying a statistical function, we are clearly telling in the data frame on which particular column you're going to apply the statistical function. Because if I don't specify the column, it has many columns. So it will not know a max of what you want to find it. So we need to be very clear on which column you're trying to apply this kind of a statistical function. So fine. Yeah. So, and then we saw about this concept of subsettings. Yep. And then, yeah. So how do you filter the row as well as the columns together? And how do we redefine your index? So the default index is there. So you want to overtake that and you want to define your own index on any column. And when you define the index and then when you're searching the data, we use this particular method under the data frame called as loc. That is a location. And then we see, okay, which location the data you want to fetch. Okay, and you want to remove the, okay, the indexing can be given on the unique fields. It can also be given on the non-unique fields, the repeated fields values also you can give it. So that is any field which is used in searching very frequently. On that particular field, we try to give the indexing. That's it. So now, since I said indexing, it changes the technique of fetching the data. So once your searching is over and things, it is always better you reset this particular indexing. So use a reset option. Okay. Yeah, so this is what we have understood in the data frames as of now. So in the next session, we'll see about the more into details of the data frames.
Done, sir.